Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. It's TheSketchMonkey here. Today we're gonna have a look at the McLaren P1, and I'm gonna do something that I've been curious about what it will look like for a long time, but I just never did it until today. So what I'm gonna do is gonna take the McLaren P1 and turn it into a front engine car, because I think it might actually work with these lines, and I'm gonna tell you why right now. Because the McLaren P1, if you look at the P1 and compare it to, for example, the Senna, which is more of a track focused McLaren than the more organic looking P1, which is still a track focused car, don't get me wrong, but when it comes to the styling of the two, I definitely prefer the P1 over the Senna and even the newer Sabre because of the rounded shapes and the organic feeling. It's a more emotional design when it comes to the styling of the car. So what I want to do is basically take the greenhouse right here and just move this back so that the C-pillar connects to this rear part right here, and the A-pillar as well is going to be stretched forward to something like this. This means that we need to work on this area right here to connect the hood to the A-pillar and not make it look too weird. Make it look like it's intentional and not have that dip go there like we have right now in the A-pillar, because right now where the A-pillar is, there's a huge dip here in the body of the car. We need to make some molding there, or whatever you want to call it. Mold it over so that it looks pretty good when we move the whole greenhouse back. So with that said, let's just jump in here to Photoshop and let's see how this is going to turn out, because I'm very excited about this. It's not going to be the most substantial redesign you've ever seen in your life, but it's just one that I've always wanted to do, and I'm a huge fan of this design. It feels like McLaren, after that, it feels like with the Senna and the Sabre, they kind of took the approach of sacrificing some of the emotional feeling of the design and some of the organic vibes and the curves of the design, and they sacrificed that. And priority number one became track focused and track times, and that means that the Sabre and the Senna looks more like tools than they do emotional objects like the P1 does. So that's the whole reasoning behind why I like the P1 better than the other two. Now, while we're working on this P1 here, we can actually keep the side, the design of the door here, because it doesn't look like it has a massive intake for the mid-engine where the engine is positioned here. Usually when you have a mid-engine car like the Aventador, for example, you have a massive intake in the side right behind the doors. But here with the P1, it's designed so cleverly that they hid this intake. So just looking at it from the side, if we remove the greenhouse altogether, it's hard to tell whether it's a front engine or a mid-engine car, just based on looking where the positioning of the air intakes are. We do have some sort of outlet right behind the front axle, which is cool. You have some two dual wings going there that connects to right behind the front wheel, and it looks cool. We can keep that as well. That's sort of an air duct for the wheelhouse, and there's not a lot of changes we need to do there. What really needs to change though is, as I said, the hood. We can't have the hood have the same style as it had when it's a mid-engine car, because it's not going to work. It's not going to connect well to the A-pillar. So that's going to be the biggest change here, I would say. Other than that, it's a pretty simple redesign. And of course, when you move the engine to the front instead of having it being in the middle, it's going to affect the handling pretty significantly. So we're going back when in terms of handling here. But as an experiment to see what it would look like at a front engine car, that's why I'm doing this whole redesign here. It's the reason why the Corvette C8, for example, went mid-engine, because they felt like the C7, that was the peak of what they could perform with a massive front engine package and layout. If you move the engine behind the driver and more centered, it becomes more balanced and easier to handle on the track. So they wanted more performance out of the Corvette, and that meant that they had to go mid-engine in order to make that improvement in the performance that they were looking for. So we're coming to an end of this redesign here, and it was super fun to do this. Just a simple video this time, but I really enjoyed making these changes because it really works with the McLaren P1 more so than the Pagani Huayra that I turned into a front engine car, which is almost, the Huayra has too much of a wavy shoulder line that it makes it really hard to make it look good as a front engine car, but I think it actually works here with the P1. It looks like a cool looking car. Of course, the track focusedness is going to be toned down a little bit because now we have a massive engine in the front, or why not? This could be like an all-electric version, but then we need to remove the big exhaust in the rear. But I think that would be the way to go if you want to make a track-focused front engine-looking P1. To be able to keep up with a mid-engine P1, that has to be electric because we can't have the massive lump in the front end of the car. It's going to mess up the balance, and it's not going to have a chance on the track compared to the mid-engine version. That's about it. I'm going to show you the before and after, and thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.